a special interview that has been done by my colleague Uday Pratap Singh. He has spoken to the former ambassador of India to the United States of America, where he has spoken about the current situation prevailing in Israel. We have with us Ambassador Navtej Sarna. Let's quickly listen to this interview and what he has to say about the Israel-Hamas war that is taking place.
Joining us today is Ambassador Navtej Sarna, a former diplomat. Ambassador Sarna, you have, of course, served as India's ambassador to Israel, which is why it's very important to know your views and your outlook on this unprecedented situation that is, of course, developed in Israel. Unprecedented attack by Hamas, taking the Israelis completely by surprise. What did you make of that, sir? Which many are, calling the biggest atyachar, atrocity on Jews since the Holocaust.
Well, I think it's been an absolute shock as far as Israel is concerned. Israel is always a country that the world has looked up to as a country which is exceptional in its abilities to secure itself, which is exceptional in terms of its intelligence gathering capabilities. And it has developed over the years a kind of a reputation that they know what's happening around them. Obviously, this reputation has suffered a terrible blow when you had the Hamas militants coming in such large numbers through what should have been a very heavily guarded separation barrier, a border with Gaza. Hamas is not a stranger for Israel. They have been watching it, engaging with it over several rounds for many years now. Perhaps it was a failure at multiple levels, at the intelligence level, at the operational level, because even when the event had happened, the IDF, the famed IDF, was unable to react like you would expect to. It took time to begin to rescue the people. In the meanwhile, there were huge number of civilian deaths and violence, and yes, such a number of civilian deaths in Israel has not happened for a very long time. I mean, the numbers that we're hearing of today far exceeds, I think, what happened in 5 years of the Second Intifada. So it has been a shock. Of course, we can go, the separate things about why it happened, what had been leading up to it, what is the solution, etc. Those are separate conversations. But surely the kind of extent of damage, the kind of violence, the loss of civilian life, will affect Israeli psyche for, I think, generations to come.
Absolutely. Things now looking very, very ominous with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's declaration that this is now not going to be a counter-strike or a counter-offensive, but Israel is at war. He has said, we haven't started this, but we will end this. Very tough talking by the Israel Prime Minister, isn't it, Ambassador Sarna? And we have seen post that multiple strikes on Gaza, and the IDF also saying now they're attempting to seize it, even economically freezing some of their crypto and other assets.
Well, the initial, the assault on Israel may have been a surprise. The reaction is not. An Israeli reaction would be expected, would be massive, would be quite unremitting. And that is what you are saying. I think we even in smaller situations, much less harmful situations, you have seen a massive reactions from Israel. So I think now it's going to be very difficult. What the impact will be, what the extent will be, whether it will take the form of a land invasion of Gaza, how costly that could be to both sides, or will it be restricted to aerial bombing? What will be the collateral damage? I think these will be issues that you will see in the next few days. But the fact remains that Israel has reacted as per form. They do react very, very hard to this. They would like to ensure that something like this does not happen. And in this particular case, there is an anger. There is a call for revenge, in a very primitive word, if I can use. And then, of course, there is the fact that Prime Minister Netanyahu has to somehow recoup his reputation as the tough man of Israel, and because all this has happened on his watch.
Yes.
And to some extent, there will have to be a soul searching. There'll have to be an analysis as to why it happened. What was the government doing? Why were they involved in so much of disruptive activity within Israel? What were the policies of his ultra-nationalist, ultra-extreme coalition partners, which he has stuck to for his own political survival? All these are questions being raised even in the Israeli media in very, very strong terms. So that will happen. But for the moment, I think you will see this reaction. If the hope should be that this does not now spread into other theaters, and it is contained, and then things can be brought back to some sort of normalcy as soon as possible.
Very quickly, sir, on the geopolitics of it, because no conflict now in the world of today is contained or local anymore. Everything has ramifications. The US, the UK, being very swift with their support for Israel, even India for that matter, many other countries as well, all voicing their support for Israel. We've also seen the UN come out and urge caution, saying the human cost should not be there. We are learning of other bodies also which are calling for high-level meetings. Meanwhile, Iran, with their heart, of course, bleeding for what's happening in Gaza. Interestingly, Hezbollah also now, timing their rockets from Lebanon at the same time. So your thoughts on the geopolitical ramifications of this all, which the world is already reeling from another war in Russia-Ukraine?
Yeah, it is a powder keg all around. And you have other militant groups, so you have other, whatever you call them, resistance groups. You have the Hezbollah, you have the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, you have unrest potentially in the West Bank, you have militant groups in Syria, and you have the connection of Iran to many of these groups. So you can see there's a sense of deterrence that the West has tried to create by the US has sent forth aircraft carriers to the East Mediterranean to ensure that there is a sense that this should not spread. Other people should not come to fish in these troubled waters. Hopefully better sense will prevail all around, and you will not see the spread of this, but the world is not in a good place in any case. So we've already had for 2 years the conflict in Ukraine, and you really don't want something like this spreading. So I think it's in everybody's interest ultimately that this cycle of violence should now be brought into check. That's easier said than done, as I said.
Yes. My final question to you on where you see this headed. Do you believe this is something which is now not just going to last a few days, but could stretch longer? Which direction is this headed?
Well, it will all depend upon the kind of, now it's Israel's call, really speaking. And they will have a window. They do have a window where they would react very strongly and take military action. Now, it will also depend upon how much of a reaction comes from the supporters of Hamas from different quarters. If there is not much reaction, then you can expect that after a massive reaction from Israel, there will begin to be, the international community will begin to come down on both sides and say that, okay, now it's time to sit down and to talk and to withdraw. At the moment, I think that would be optimistic. to think that that is going to happen in the next few days. I think until Israel gets a feeling or is able to project a feeling that they have taken full revenge, that they have got some high-profile Hamas leaders, out of action, that they have caused, they have actually changed, the playing field to a point that this kind of thing does not happen again. I think it will be very difficult to go back to things as they were.
All right. Well, we'll, of course, keep tracking this big story. But thank you very much, Ambassador Sarna, for joining us with your perspective.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.